Hello, everyone. Hello and welcome. I am Colleen Vanderzijden, and this is Lilydale Radio. Let me know. Tell me if everything is good and you can see me and hear me, please. So this is Lilydale Radio. As I said, the name of the show is called Embracing Your Essence, and I am Colleen Vanderzijden, the host of the show. I am a Lilydale registered medium, and as a medium, we connect in with our loved ones on the other side. And I'm also intuitive and spiritual life coach. And as a life coach, I help people connect with their best lives, helping them take action to create that, helping them recognize their spiritual nature, connect to their soul, all of those things. So as you're joining me here on Facebook, please let me know you're here. I would love to know your name, where you're from, just to make sure that you're here and listening, as well as I want to make sure that I don't have any technological problems, as we so frequently do. And today, as we are going here, I am going to be talking about feeling judged. And as I'm talking about feeling judged, we are going to talk about some different ways to handle feeling judged and what it is like. So first, before I get to all of that, I am live on Lilydale Assembly Incorporated official page on Facebook, and I'm also live on my page, Colleen Vanderzijden, medium and intuitive life coach. And you can make comments there as much as possible, and I will respond to them. So before we get to the topic tonight, I do want to talk about, hi Denise, nice to see that my comments are working. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Before I do get to our topic tonight of feeling judged, I am going to tell you about a couple opportunities that I have coming up because I want to make sure I tell you about them before I forget about them once I get talking, as you know I do. Tomorrow night, I have a free class on Zoom. It's called Get Unstuck and Reignite Your Joy. And it's all about helping you move out of stuck, move out of feeling stuck. You know how it gets sometimes where we've got problems in our lives or we're stuck in our heads with worries or concerns. Well, I'm going to give you some strategies to help you get out of that so you can feel better. Then I also have a really cool program coming up at the end of the month called Courageously You Group Coaching Program. And this is for people who are ready to release the stress, the confusion, the worry, and the feelings of not being good enough. And this, what we do in this workshop here, it's actually an 8-week Zoom coaching program. We talk about how you can go on an adventure of self-discovery to find out who you truly are, what your truth is, and to reclaim your power. So we do the 8 weeks of Zoom coaching along with my Happy and Unstoppable online course. And what we do is we play with magical mind games that help you navigate all the unpleasant twists and turns of life. So if somebody is a jerk to you, you'll have a strategy to help you not respond as a jerk back. All sorts of things so you feel better. It's helping people let go of stress and confusion and worry, all of those things we don't want. It's a really transformative class. If you're interested in that, you can find out more information on my Facebook page, Colleen Vanderzijden, Medium and Intuitive Life Coach, and you can also find the registration information for the free class tomorrow night as well. If you're interested in the coaching class, if you register by Friday night at midnight, you get a free 30-minute one-on-one coaching session with me where we can help you with whatever problem you want to talk about. Lots of fun. So anyway, you can find out more information there or also on my website, ColleenVanderzijden.com, or quick link, psychicmediumcolleen.com, for those of you who like the quick link better. So tonight, hello everybody. Let me see who's here. Hi, Denise. Hi, Barb. Nice to see you. Hi, Tom. Hi, Maura. Hi, Beth. So what we are going to do tonight, we are talking about feeling judged. So have you ever felt like people were judging you? I know most of us have, if not all of us. Or maybe you're stuck in the voice of your inner critic that is judging you. We are going to talk about a simple idea that you can use as a guide toward living a life of basically non-judgment. And we'll also talk about a few strategies to help you shift your perspectives to let go of the pain and stress that's caused by judgment. Hi, Diane. Nice to see you. Judgment, as we all know, is everywhere. It's everywhere. When we are judged, we're perceived as being wrong. We're wrong in how we look, what we do, what we think. Basically, we're just wrong being who we are. That's what it all boils down to, doesn't it? We have the everyday version of being judged. That's the kind where we're just going about our day and somebody criticizes us. And then we have the extreme judgment that we keep hearing about so much these days, where people are judging to the point of hateful language. They are being abusive or even giving death threats. I read this wild story the other day about this U.S. tennis player. Her name is Sloane Stevens. She lost a third round match, and she said she got over 2,000 messages of hate mail, hateful and abusive language. One person even said that they were going to find her and break her legs so she couldn't walk anymore. What is that about? Can you imagine feeling that level of hatred, that you would send such a message? I can't imagine any of you would, and I know I certainly wouldn't. But can you also imagine receiving something like that? And maybe some of you have received things like this, where somebody has communicated with you in a horrible, judgmental manner, where you felt really hurt, or you felt less than good enough, or you just felt horrible and small. Unfortunately, judgment is ingrained in our society. It's just here. Everyone does it to some capacity. And it can be demonstrated by somebody trying to help you, in quotes, by pointing out how they feel you don't measure up. It can be anybody doing this, and they'll tell you how you're just not measuring up. Sometimes they'll give you unasked for helpful, in quotes, advice. And most of the time what's happening is they're trying to show their superiority, that's hard to say for me today, over you. They're trying to control you. They're trying to tell you how to live your life. It's like they think they know more about your life than you do. And for some reason, they don't have a problem sharing these thoughts with you. They might feel insecure or threatened in some way. So we all know sometimes when people judge, they try to make themselves feel better by pointing out somebody else's flaws. I know, it's such a backwards way of thinking, isn't it? When we feel judged, we obviously don't feel good enough. We just don't. We feel unworthy. We feel undeserving. And we might feel that we need to change ourselves in order to please somebody else, right? You know, when we were being brought up, as we were growing up, most of us developed this fear of judgment. We don't want other people criticizing us, looking at us in a negative way, judging us in any way. So we've adjusted our behaviors to keep other people happy so that we wouldn't be judged. So with all of that, we may have developed a fear of expressing our thoughts or doing what we want to do because we don't want to be judged. We become the people pleaser or the perfectionist, trying to control our lives so we aren't judged. Here's the trap in the judgment. When we think about being judged, we always think about other people, right? The other people are judging us. We always do this. But here's the trap. Part of the reason why being judged feels so badly for us and bothers us so much is we have spent a great deal of time judging ourselves. If we were more secure in our truth, who we truly are, we wouldn't be bothered so much by someone else's judgments, perceptions, opinions, or criticisms. So, how do we stop ourselves? How do we stop judging ourselves? How do we release the effects of judgment so we can feel better, whether it's our own judgment or coming from someplace else? And so I'm going to talk about a few ideas to think about to help you. One simple idea that can help you as a guide. And if you do this one thing and only this one thing, the rest of the stuff I say tonight, you can just forget about. Don't worry about it. But this one thing that's coming up, just not yet, it's coming. But first, what you have to do, if you want to be less affected by others' judgment, is you have to figure out who you really are. So you have to understand who you are at the soul level. So going for the big answer here, who you are at the soul level is that you are a part of the God energy, the divine, the universal energy. You're a part of spirit. Your soul is a part of that. So that is who you truly are at your soul level, at your core. This means that you are perfect, as is the divine. This means that your flaws that may or may not be pointed out by yourself or other people are not really flaws to be condemned, but instead might be in divine order, helping you get to a better understanding of who you truly are. So, as a part of the divine, you are a being of love and light, right? And I know that's so cliche in the metaphysical world, in the spiritual world. We talk about, oh, you're love and light. I'm sending you love and light. And it sounds so blah, 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 blase. But really, it is true. That's who you are. You are love and you are light. So, thinking about that, can you accept that? Can you accept that that is who you truly are? I know you've been told throughout your life that's not who you are. And I know other people have told you that. I know you have told yourself that. But that's all a lie. That's all a lie. You are truly love and light. So can you accept it? Can you believe it to be true? Let's just assume it is true, and it is. But let's assume it's true, and you believe me. As a part of the divine, as a part of this love and the light, would a being of love and light judge itself as unworthy? If you were truly love, and you are, would you judge yourself and say, oh, I'm so stupid? If you're a part of the divine energy and you say about yourself, oh, I'm so stupid, I can't believe I did that, I'm such an idiot, you literally just called the divine, the universal energy, stupid and an idiot. Okay? See what I just did there? So you are a part of the divine. The divine does not judge itself as stupid or an idiot. The divine would not judge or criticize other people as well, right? They definitely wouldn't, right? Somebody who's divine. What we would do instead, if we accepted this and understood that that's who we are at our core, what we would do instead is we would show intentional love. As this divine being, we can choose to use and be intentional love. So what is that? So intentional love is when you choose to use love as your guide. When you do that, you'll be living in non-judgment. You, as that being, remember, are love. So we have to embrace it and act on it. Okay, I know it's hard these days with some of the things that are happening and the divisive behavior and the politics and just there's so much attacking of each other and there's so much judging going on from everywhere. There's so much judging going on. We cannot control the other people around us. We cannot control what's happening around us, right? But we can control who we are. And if we are that being of love and light, then we can choose to use and do the intentional love. This means you don't judge yourself and you don't judge other people. Never. You don't do it ever. You don't judge yourself. You don't judge other people. You allow people to be who they are without your advice, opinions, or criticism. You choose to express love to other people, even those who judge you. I know how hard that is, but we are going to talk about this and I'm going to give you some ideas to detach from the emotions that come from being judged so that you can step back a little bit and get into that intentional love. I am going to talk about that in a little bit. So when you're doing intentional love, you also show it to yourself. So what does that look like? When you're doing this, it means you choose your responses, you choose your behaviors, your thoughts, your emotions. Everything comes from the perspective of love. I'm just going to check the comments for a moment. Barb, your daughter is judging you, huh? Yes, it is amazing, isn't it, how some people think only their ideas are right? And that can be very hard for us when we're on the receiving end of that. And it's happening all over the place. So we are definitely going to be talking about different ways to look at that so that we don't get sucked down into that negative place. We don't want to be there. So if we're going to be these beings of intentional love, I'm going to give you a few examples of how to use that. So if you feel the need to help someone else, giving them unasked for advice, okay, and we all do this at times, I do believe. I try to be very aware of that. I don't like to give people unasked for advice or tell them how they should be. Actually, I don't do that. Probably years ago I did, before I was on my spiritual path. But sometimes it's real easy for people to want to help. So under the guise of helping, we want to give somebody else advice. If we catch ourselves doing this, just stop. Okay, it kind of ties in with what I talked about last week, pausing and waiting. So just stop. And then look at what you're doing just to make sure, because you want to be living from the love. So you want to be in integrity. You want to be aware of what you're truly doing. So are you coming from the perspective of love? Don't twist it around and go, yes, I'm trying to help them because they aren't seeing this right. So I'm going to help them. You're trying to prove you're right. You're not coming from the perspective of love. Okay. So if it comes across more as control, the idea that you know more about their lives than they do, stop. Don't do that, okay? Be honest with yourself. Are you choosing to go from love? Okay? Now, here's another example. If you catch yourself listening to your inner critic, who is one of our biggest judgers, our own bodies and heads are our biggest judgers sometimes. Okay, so if you catch yourself listening to that inner critic, judging yourself for perceived failures, whatever you didn't do right, etc., or anything, you'll know what it is. You know what it is when you're judging yourself. As soon as you notice, stop. Is it the voice of love? Now, anytime your inner critic, and it's called an inner critic for a reason, because it's not kind, it's critical, it's judgmental. So anytime that's speaking, it's not coming from the voice of love. If it's telling you you're not good enough, it's not speaking the truth. It's not speaking the love that you are. So what you want to do is stop, and you can choose to step back from it. It takes persistence to do this. You have to be persistent because we have this habit of the inner critic. It's been talking for a long time and we've been listening for a long time. So we have to be aware and then step back. And what we're going to do is we step back and get into self-love so we can change our words. And we choose not to use disempowering, hurtful words. And then what we want to do is substitute kind, compassionate, and forgiving words. I know it can be difficult, but you can do it. All it takes is awareness. As soon as you hear that voice going, you stop, step back. It's an opportunity to practice stepping back and not judging yourself and saying, oops, there I go again. I'm not going to do that. I am kind. I am caring. I am considerate. Okay. I'm just checking the comments. Somebody's judging. Son-in-law judging. When the advice came from my in-laws, I used to call it unsolicited input. I know, isn't it amazing? Barb is saying it's the voice of anger. It is amazing, isn't it? How judgment comes across with so many different voices, if you will. We've got the anger. I love the unsolicited input. People love to help, in quotes, don't they? They really do. And their way is really the only way they want to see. Quite something. So back to being intentional love and being yourself in that. If you notice you're hiding yourself, suppressing your truth, trying to keep others happy. Okay, we've all done that too. Stop. Intentional love means you choose to move back into your authenticity. You choose to be your true self, which is that being of love, okay? Beth is saying, hold on, I got other comments. Voice of anger from her. Correcting the inner critic will help eliminate the judgment of others. Like on the airplane, take the oxygen yourself first so you can be your most helpful. Exactly. Yes, the more we pay attention to what's happening in our own heads, because really, we live our lives in our heads by our emotions and our interpretations of our situations, right? So we're living in our heads. When we're happy, it's in our heads. Okay, so our inner critic is one of our bigger problems. Years ago, I was working on not judging other people. And so I was getting much better at it. And I was noticing when I was judging other people. And then all of a sudden, I recognized I was judging myself. I hadn't even paid attention to that part. I had no awareness how much I was judging myself. So then I had to do a whole other new layer of releasing the judgment habit. Once we really start paying attention to ourselves and releasing that judgment, we start to look at everybody else from a different perspective. And the love really does start to become expressed through us as it's supposed to be. So now let's get into the heavy duty stuff, because you all know we want to know how to respond to judgmental people from the intentional love. We want to know how to do that. And I have lots of thoughts on this. I'm going to tie in some ideas to help you detach from the emotions so that you can think clearly and be more intentional in your choices. Okay, so we do want to release the emotions because when somebody judges us, what happens, right? We have an emotional reaction. We get angry, we get frustrated, we might have to bite our tongues so we don't snap back at somebody. We might go later on and start venting about, oh, did you hear what they said to me? That was horrible. I can't believe they said that. And what we end up doing is repeating this story over and over, keeping ourselves stuck in those emotions. So we have to release those emotions so that we can respond from the intentional love. If we're overly emotional, you know how that goes, we're not thinking clearly, and then we're more likely to react rather than respond from awareness. So before I get to that, I do want to remind you, in case you missed the beginning part, tomorrow night, free class, Get Unstuck and Reignite Your Joy. You'll find the info on my page, Colleen van der Zijden, Medium and Intuitive Life Coach. And then my coaching group is coming up the end of the month. And you want to do that if you can. It's so much fun. We had such a ball with the last class. And that also can be found on my page. There we go. Little brief advertisement for those of you who came in a little bit later. So the first suggestion for responding to somebody who has judged you is make a choice. You have to decide ahead of time that you're going to do this. And make a choice not to respond with the same judgmental energy. When somebody judges us, we get defensive. We do. So, and we have this innate need to protect ourselves, right? We have to, right? That's the way it is. So it's easy to react without thought. If somebody says something to you that's horrible and hurtful, our immediate reaction is just like we boil over and we want to protect ourselves. So we want to defend ourselves. We want to say to them, well, no, that's not true. And so what can happen is we can get caught in their energy and respond in the same way. It is very difficult to handle people like this if you're not prepared. So you need to be prepared. So when you become aware, so say you're well, let's pick somebody here. So say who did you say it was, Barb? Your daughter? So let's say Barb's daughter is trying to control her, telling her what to do, telling her she's not thinking the way she's supposed to be, telling her she's doing things wrong. So if I were Barb, my initial reaction would be, I'd start to get angry, like, who are you to tell me, And then what might happen is I feel like I need to defend myself. Well, no, I've been trying to do it this way, or no, this. And so we might start trying to accommodate them, or we might just lash back at them and say, well, you, and do the well, you game. So what we want to do is become aware of our emotional response. When we're irritated, frustrated, angry, pause, stop, wait. This is my message for the last 2 shows, I think. Pause, stop, wait, and then make an intentional choice. What would your response be? Okay, they're going to act like that, so what would your response be? Now, this is very important to remember. This never means we put up with abuse. This never means we put up with somebody being disrespectful. This never means we put up with somebody intentionally hurting us repeatedly. So intentional love in these cases might mean that we walk away. It might mean we set up those boundaries to say, you cannot talk to me like that, and tell them what's going to happen. I'm going to walk away, or you're going to leave, whatever it is. It might mean that you calmly speak your truth rather than responding in that same energy. It might mean you go, that's not acceptable. I'm sorry. Leave it at that. It's not acceptable. I will not listen to you speaking to me in that way. Calmly speaking your truth throws them off. If you respond in anger, that's what they want. They want your anger. They may not consciously know this, but they want your anger. The more angry you get, the stronger they get in their criticisms and judgment. But if you respond calmly, it throws them off. You've broken the pattern. So when you do that, they don't know what to do with it. So it can help diffuse the situation. Sometimes intentional love might be viewing the person with compassion because maybe they're having a rough day and you just happen to be there. That would be more for a case of an occasional judgment rather than somebody who judges you all the time. You might find also that being intentional love would be also responding from kindness and positivity, trying to help them feel better. It depends on the situation, but when you've paused and you've stopped, you'll be able to evaluate what your response should be if you come back in love. So rather than reacting, you're going to be intentional in your response. Okay, let's see what people have to say. That's the hard part. It is. I refuse to be disrespected by anyone, and I don't feed into judgment. My mantra, let's give them something to talk about. It's hard when it's people you love. It is. It is hard when it's people you love. It's tricky when it's family, friends, when you're being judged by them, because not only are we being judged by them, these are the people who should be supporting us, and loving us particularly as we truly are. So when family and friends don't love us this way, it goes to our core. It goes to our center, and it shakes us up because it's wrong, in quotes, because in our belief system, we have been brought up to believe, many of us, not all of us, that family is supposed to be there for us. And when they're not, it's very difficult and challenging. Sometimes people have to cut people out of their families. And I was going to do a whole show on that last year, and then I realized it was way so big, I wasn't sure even what I would tell you with that one. But sometimes we have to cut people out because it's not healthy for us anymore. Sometimes we, and I'm not saying any of you are, sometimes we are the source of the problem and we can't see it. And that's part of the reason why we have to make sure we always look back at ourselves and check in with ourselves. Are we being love? Are we choosing to be love? And what does that mean to us, really? Like, what does it mean to be love? What does it mean to act with love, to be intentional with that love? Sometimes it's helping other people. Sometimes it's protecting ourselves in a positive way. Sometimes it might be protecting somebody else. Okay, it depends on the circumstance. So in these cases, it's remember that you are a being of love, and it's very important for you to stay strong in your truth of who you are and who you believe you truly are at your core level. Because if you know you're doing the best you can, if you know you are a being of love, and then somebody says to you, "Oh, you're such a jerk. I can't believe you said that," and you know they're just making up their own story in their head, you don't have to buy into that story if it's not true. If you are strong in who you are and you believe it and trust yourself, you won't buy into that story. The reason we buy into that story is there's probably a self-belief that is affecting you, that somehow, of course, you're not worthy. And we will talk about that, of course, because you know me, I talk about that all the time. Somebody had to walk away from their sister 3 years ago because of this very thing and misses her like crazy but can't go through it again. And there are those kinds of people. Sometimes there are people out there who, and I'm not saying your sister has this either, okay? But sometimes there are people out there who have personality disorders. You know, they're narcissists. You can't change them. You can't make them see life from your perspective. They don't even know consciously how much they're hurting you. And if they do know, then they definitely have some kind of a personality disorder if they're so intentional about hurting you. Okay, so it's not your fault ever. So the first thing was choosing not to respond with the same judgmental energy that's coming at you as much as you might want to. Choose not to. Be calm if you choose to speak up, okay? The second thing that you can explore that can help you get out of those emotional reactions is to explore the source of their judgment. What is motivating them to be judging you? Okay. Look at it as though their judgment has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. Because that's what's usually happening. It's their perspective. Like all of us, we're living our lives from our perspective. So it's all about them. It has nothing to do with you. So are they insecure? Do they feel threatened? I had a client a few years ago whose coworkers were always criticizing her, saying things like, your voice is too quiet, you need to project. And she was in a position where she had to speak publicly. You need better clothes, you don't look very professional. And they even mocked her for her desire to do a good job. Now, of course, this really bothered her. She was hurt and her self-confidence kind of decreased and started plummeting. And as we talked, she noticed that she was also judging them because she was hurt. So she was judging them back. And she didn't want to be like that. She said, I don't want to do this. That's not who I am. So she stopped and she looked at it from a whole new angle. And when she thought about their motivation, she realized they were, number one, immature. Okay, they didn't have a good work ethic. And they didn't take that job as seriously as she did. And it seemed that they could get by with minimal effort. That was their thought. She thought that might be what they were thinking. So their criticisms may very well have been a cover-up for feeling guilty for not putting in as much effort as she was. So here she's working hard and they're saying, why are you working so hard? Stop doing that. You know, you don't look good anyway. You're not doing a good job anyway. So here they're attacking her and putting her down, but yet they're not really working as hard as she was. And as we kept talking about it, she realized she actually was really good at what she does, and that she had many positive evaluations, and she really enjoyed her job. So what had happened was she was without awareness, and she had allowed them to influence her because she'd always been concerned with how well she did at work. She's responsible. She wanted to do a good job. And when we explored it further, it took her to a new understanding about who she was and what she believed. She realized she wasn't as confident in herself as she might have been. And it had become a habit throughout her life to look to other people for validation that she was doing a good job. And that takes us back to always pleasing other people. Our societal conditioning, making sure other people are happy. So we look to them for approval. Many of us have been conditioned to look for other people for approval. And this is another reason why feeling judged affects us so much. If people don't approve of us, we take it as though we're not good enough. And that takes me back to we need to be strong in understanding who we truly are and we get to choose to trust and believe in ourselves. Yes, I'm going to go back and look at the comments again, because you guys have some good ones going now. I am an empath, oil and vinegar. Empaths and narcissists, they're all over the place. I would bet so many of you are an empath, and we've talked about this in the past, and I just did a whole workshop on it in the summer. But empaths, we attract narcissists like there's no tomorrow. When it's family judging, I do not respond unless it's disrespectful, and that may be a perfect way to handle that. I try to keep the attitude if someone has a problem with me that it's their problem, not mine. Exactly. It all goes back to them. Always. Hi, Carol. Some people aren't happy in their own life and find judging others can make them feel better in their own life, unfortunately. Yeah, and when we think about that, isn't that interesting? It's quite a warped perspective in my viewpoint that we want to make somebody else feel badly so we feel better. It's kind of like the bullying, trying to bully somebody else first because they don't want to receive the bullying. So it's a form of protecting themselves in a very strange way. And Barbara's saying, I didn't respond to my daughter's judging. She said, you believe this? And I said, yes. Then she got angrier. Then she said she was too upset that she needed to hang up. Isn't it amazing how some people will take our standing up for ourselves as a bad thing? And it's never a bad thing. Stay strong in yourself. Stay strong in yourself. So my client, she realized that she needed to believe in herself and not look to other people for approval. If she knew she was doing a good job, she was doing the best job she could, she was being responsible, she didn't even need to compare herself to the other people. She knew she was. Then she found it easier to let go of being judged. She said that their words no longer affected her anymore because she knew she was doing the right thing. So if we can stand in our power, they won't affect us as much. This is still hard to do because we have been well trained to look to others for approval. And so we've lost track of ourselves. Sometimes we're not strong in ourselves yet. So it takes some practice for us to do this. But if we keep doing it, we will get better and better, and that judgment will start to roll off of you. And if it doesn't just roll off of you right away, you'll get through it much faster, because I know so many of us will spend days ruminating over how somebody judged us or said something about us that way. So whenever you feel judged, step back. Just step back from the initial shock, the pain, feeling hurt. Explore the possible motivations. What's going on there? Are they threatened? Remember, it has nothing to do with you. Try that again. It has nothing to do with you and all about them. This will help you release the automatic emotional response. And bonus, you can discover a disempowering self-belief that could be transformed or released. And as you know, it always comes back to feeling not good enough. Now, I've said this in the past, but I feel like I need to say it again. So maybe we have some new watchers and listeners tonight. You can also reinterpret their motivation. So you can explore what you think their motivation might be. And you can also make up a story about why they are the way they are, you know? And I always use the example of, maybe they were attacked by a kitten when they were younger or something like that, or they're an alien or something strange and crazy. But you can also rewrite that interpretation. You don't have to figure out what the legit motivating stuff is. You could just make something up. So another idea and this one is very easy to do if you decide to do it, and it ties in with everything I just said, is not to take anything personally. Decide not to take anything personally. Direct from the Four Agreements book, and I'm sure other people have said it before, that no matter what the problem is, choose to not take it personally. It rarely has anything to do with you anyway. Okay? It's all about them. Even if the judgment is personal, because I know somebody out there said, well, I know they're doing it to make me mad. I know they're doing it because they're trying to control me. Yes. Even if it is personal and you know they're doing it, you have a choice. Do you want to get stuck in those emotions, stuck in that reaction, stuck in that anger again? Or are you going to go, you know what? I'm not taking anything personally and I just don't care. Your thoughts are your thoughts. They're not mine. You don't have to do it. It's a very simple choice that can release the emotional turmoil. This is a fun one to do, actually, because you can do it for everything. Somebody is driving slowly in front of you and you're like, oh my God, get out of my way. I'm in a rush. Okay. That sounds like you're taking a slow driver's actions personally, and they're purposefully slowing you down. Okay. We do this stuff all the time. We take things personally that have nothing to do with us. So if you decide not to take anything personally, anything at all, you will get rid of so much stress and anxiety. You'll be so much happier if you just do that. Another thing to think about that can help you detach from those emotions when you're feeling judged and attacked is to remember, and this gets you back in your power, being stronger in who you are, that your life is your game. You are the expert of you. I like to say it's your game and no one else knows the rules of your life. They're not in your game. You get to set the rules. You're in charge of you. You're the only one who knows what you truly need. Your opinion is the only one that matters. Now, right there were like 5 sentences. You can make them all into an affirmation or an intention right there. Okay? It's your game and no one else knows the rules of your life. This means nobody else has the right to tell you what to do. Nobody has the right to tell you what to do. They may think they do, but they're wrong. The only one that has the right to tell you what to do is you. And because of that, you don't have to listen to them. You don't. They don't know what they're talking about. Don't give their comments any weight. Okay? And since your life is your game, right? It's yours. It's essential that you have a better understanding of who you truly are. What are your rules? What are your boundaries? So many times we don't know what our boundaries are until they've been crossed. And that's okay. So then we set a boundary at that point. If your son is being disrespectful to you and you put up with it because you're a kind person, you think that's what you're supposed to do, you think you're doing it in the name of unconditional love, and all of a sudden you think, you know what, I am tired of listening to this, I don't like this, you can set new rules and you can say, no, that is disrespectful and I'm not listening to you. They're your rules, your life. Set your boundaries. You get to decide what kind of life you want. Do you want a peaceful life? Or do you want one where there's a lot of turmoil because somebody's drama queen all over the place and likes to attack you? You get to choose what kind of life you want. If you don't have the life you want, make a change. Do something differently. Set a new rule. What's important to you? You've got to figure out what's most important to you. And then do you want to embrace that divine nature of your soul? Do you want to be that loving being? Living in intentional love means you view life from a loving perspective, including yourself and the difficult, judgmental people. But remember, sometimes we have unconditional love gone wrong, that we think we have to put up with somebody's behavior. We never have to put up with someone's behavior. You can choose to stay quiet. You can choose to bite your tongue, as long as it's your choice. If you're doing it out of desperation, fear, that's not a good way to choose. If you're choosing because you intentionally want that and you're showing intentional love to yourself, then yes, go for it. Do it. Definitely. Go for it. When you're doing intentional love, you're choosing to do everything from love. Everything. That's the one thing, if you remember this tonight, that will be the one thing that really helps you. Choosing to respond to everything in love. The harder part, I think, sometimes is really what somebody said earlier about the inner critic, is treating yourself with love. Sometimes we are meaner to ourselves than we are to other people. Now, right now, I feel like, of course, I'm, as we call it, preaching to the choir, because I know if you're watching this show that you know we are going to be talking about how to live your life better, how to handle stuff, how to live as your soul, all of that stuff. So I know you're probably already thinking about these and acting on these ideas. So it's kind of preaching to the choir. Remember, we can't change other people. All we can do is improve ourselves and be the best version of ourselves. So now here's something else to consider. If you're unsure of how to respond to love with someone who is judgmental and hurtful, remember to stop and wait, of course, until you're clear of the emotions. Okay, stop and wait. And then during that time, what you can do is, because you are directly connected to the divine, you are the divine, you have it in you, it's all around you. That means you're also guided. That means if you don't know what to do or how to respond, if you get clear and still, you can ask Spirit, God, the universal energy, to guide you, to give you a suggestion. We want to show love to ourselves, but we want to show love to others, okay? Again, let me just reiterate one more time. That doesn't mean you put up with stuff, okay? The next time, just choose to step back this way. No one has the right to tell you what to do. The conspiracy, what? But it's true. The conspiracy to make me punch in late for work. I don't know what that means, but oh, that's very interesting. Okay. Is somebody trying to actually make you punch in late for work so you get in trouble? Yes, anyway, no one has the right to tell you what to do. And it is never too late to set those boundaries. It is absolutely never too late. So that is what I wanted to talk about tonight. Handling judgment, your own judgment, other people's judgment coming at you. And so, just to remind you, lilydaleassembly.org. You can find out everything that's happening. Lilydale Assembly Incorporated. Free class tomorrow night. Get unstuck and reignite your joy. The information's on my page right here. Colleen Vanderzijden, medium and intuitive life coach. And if you ever have thought about getting coaching, if you ever thought you wanted to help yourself get out of stress, confusion, worry, be strong in your power, and if you're looking for some strategies to handle your life situations, those unpleasant twists and turns, in my Courageously You group coaching program, we are going to talk about magical mind games that will help you handle those. And we have such a great community there of people. Every time I do one of these, we have a great community that supports each other, and we have so much fun in this situation. So that's that's coming up at the end of the month. You can check that out as well on my page or go to my website, of course, ColleenVanderzuyden.com. Next week, I will be traveling and I will not be here. I am going to take my mother to Maine and we are going to have some lobster. It's going to be awesome. So let me see. Did I tell you everything else? I think I told you everything else you need to do. That was a text that accidentally ended here, deleted it. Oh, that's funny. Love it. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me. You guys have an amazing week, and I will see you the next time I see you after I come back from my trips. You have a wonderful time. Bye.